In this module, we're going to be having a look at working with app IDs and parameters. It's been highlighted a couple of times lately on the forum where people have got a little bit confused about how parameters and app IDs are related to each other. So I thought I'd just make a quick tutorial on how to understand this. I'll be covering first of all PHP, which is the simplest, and then we'll move on to Node.js. So basically I have here two basic PHP pages, an index page and another one I've called page 2. And we're all used to being able to create parameters within our working environment. So if I go into app and go into define query parameters, I can define a query parameter here and we'll call that, keep it simple, ID. We save that. You'll notice possibly that here a file called config.js has appeared. If we double click that, we can see the definition of that particular parameter within the scope of app ID index. We have a query parameter, and that query parameter is text type and its name is ID. And if we want to look at how that's available in a picker, I've just got a little button hidden away there, and if we go into our click event for that, let's say we'll pick a set value, we can see that value is available within the picker I should say, for that particular page. So everything's great. That's how we expect that to work. We now pop over to page 2 and we take a look to find our query parameters. The first thing you'll notice is, of course, that ID parameter has not shown up. So I'm going to add in it. I'm going to call it ID2 just so we distinguish from the other. Save that. Now we'll go back into config.js screen. We'll see it's actually created another parameter, another query parameter, and you'll notice they are defined within different app ID ranges. So one is within index, one is within page 2, and it's perfectly valid if you want to do that. Create different versions within your pages. Yeah, go ahead, do it, no problem at all. Say if we go into our events of our click event as we did before, you can see that we've got that value is available, ID2. What happens if you want to just have a consistent ID, define it once, use it on all pages? Well, that's where your app ID comes in, because the the parameters that are shown within your screen are actually dependent on your app ID. So if you wanted to consistently use that ID that we defined within index right throughout your system, if we look, our app is called index, and if I now go to page 2 and change app ID to index, that will then tell the Wappler that they should use the query parameters that are defined within the app ID index scope. We save that. Now if I go into our click event, this time instead of seeing that app ID 2, we should now see our query that was defined within index page. Because that app ID is index and this page is index, then we will see the ID that's defined within that scope. And if we just pop in, we can see that's the reason why Wappler will look at the app ID. It will find any parameters that are being defined within that app ID, and that will be the ID they will show. So that's how we do it in PHP. Fairly straightforward. Next we'll have a look at how we do that within Node. So now we're in the Node environment, and you can see there we've got a straightforward layout page and we have an index page. So I'm going to try doing what we did in the previous section that we did within PHP and just see what happens there. So I'm going to create a query parameter, and I'm going to call it CID, as in content page ID. if we look now in here, we can see that is defined within config.js. And if we click on our check button and we go down to our events and value, lo and behold, there's no sign of that defined parameter. And there's a few people at this point who've gone, oh my god, bug, problem with Wappler. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's just the way that Node works is slightly different. Because with Node, it actually takes its parameter settings from the main page. So in this case, if we create a query parameter within the layout page, and we'll call that LID, layout ID, and save that. Back into index, if we now look at that click event we had before, set value, we now should see that there we are, there's that query that we've defined within our main page. So there's a quick summary then. Within PHP or pages, if they have the same app ID, will share their parameters. Within the Node environment, it's different. Basically, the parameters should be defined within your main layout page, and then they will be viewed within any content page which is linked to that layout page, and that is regardless of the app ID. So you see that layout page is my app, the index page is index. It doesn't care, because with Node it doesn't use the app IDs to link them. It actually uses the definition within the layout page for which our content page is linked. So I hope that's cleared it up for people who are a little bit confused with how that works, and thank you for joining me.